I knew this guy in college. Incredibly smart. Always had the right answer in class, just sharp.
Right.
But when it came to exams, he would just short circuit. I remember seeing him during a big final.
Oh, wow.
He'd overprepared, studied himself into a corner, and he just sat there staring at the first question, completely frozen. He told me afterward that his mind wasn't empty. It was too full. He was running so many scenarios, so many what if I say it this way loops, that he couldn't commit to a single word.
That's fascinating.
His fear of getting it wrong made it impossible to get anything right. It's the ultimate paradox.
Yeah.
Trying so hard that you can't move at all. And it's the exact same feeling I get sometimes just looking at a blank document.
It is.
That's when I realized this thing we all face, this writer's block, it's not really a block, it's something else. It's paralysis.
That realization is so critical because when we strip away the myth of the uninspired artist and look at writer's block as a physiological and cognitive response, the picture changes entirely.
So it's not magic, it's biology.
Pretty much. Clinically speaking, it's a stress reaction.
Yeah.
And it often paralyzes the ability to translate these fully formed thoughts into coherent words. It's not an input problem. It's a severely overloaded filtration problem.
A filtration problem driven by fear, anxiety.
And high, often impossible expectations.
So the brain throws up a firewall. It's basically saying, better to produce nothing than produce something that could expose me to judgment.
That is the core mechanism. And that paralysis, it looks vastly different depending on the environment you're in.
Right.
So our mission in this deep dive is to investigate how this paralysis shows up across 3 distinct high-pressure domains: the academic world of doctoral students, the fast-paced lives of professional creators using AI, and then the deep depletion people feel from burnout.
And we're hunting for the root cause in each of those so we can give you some targeted practical solutions.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start where the pressure is maybe at its highest.
Yeah.
The academic environment. Think about a doctoral candidate. Let's call her Elena. She's wrestling with her dissertation, staring at chapter 3, something dense, socioeconomic impacts of 14th century Venetian trade routes. The cursor just blinks.
Right. The blinking cursor.
It's not that she lacks research. She has years of it. The problem is the paralyzing weight of her committee's expectations. She feels that every single sentence she commits to the page will be immediately picked apart.
Seen as too simplistic or not enough.
Exactly. The source material suggests she's not afraid of writing. She's afraid of writing badly.
Elena's struggle is a perfect example of what happens when these huge projects just overload our key mental resources. We know doctoral writing places an immense strain on what's called executive functioning.
So that's things like organizing, planning.
Organizing, planning, working memory, and crucially, task initiation. Just getting started.
I can see why. During coursework, you're handed a syllabus. The structure and the deadlines are all external.
Exactly right. Coursework acts as an external skeleton, so it reduces your cognitive load. But the dissertation stage, it demands total reliance on self-initiation, on self-structure.
Your own inner project manager.
And if that inner project manager is struggling, maybe because of anxiety or lack of sleep, it essentially cuts off access to your intellectual capacity. You can know the topic cold, yet be unable to actually plan or execute the writing.
Wow.
Yeah, and this immense unsupported cognitive burden is a big part of why roughly a third of PhD non-completers drop out specifically at the dissertation stage.
So the key challenge here is really self-management. It's not about intelligence.
Not at all.
What are the common points of failure for academics like Elena?
Well, the cognitive barriers often hit hardest when they have to write those I am rad sections. Introduction, methodology, results, and discussion. They might struggle to synthesize all the literature or feel, insecure about their statistical methods.
Okay, so the technical parts.
Right. But even more debilitating are the affective barriers, the psychological ones. This is the overwhelming perfectionism, a lack of self-confidence, a constant fear of rejection. It just feeds this paralysis loop.
And I bet they also worry that all this work won't actually matter in the real world.
Constantly. It's exhausting.
It sounds it. Okay, so let's talk about Elena's breakthrough. She finally goes, kind of defeated, to the University Writing Center. The tutor sits her down, ignores the computer, and just says, forget the sources for a minute. Just talk to me. Tell me what you're trying to say.
Love that.
And she just rants for 20 minutes. Frustrated, summarizing her key arguments. The tutor is just typing notes, then turns the screen around.
And there it is, the first 2 paragraphs and a clear outline.
Yep.
This simple, evidence-based strategy is so powerful because it deliberately bypasses that psychological bottleneck.
How does it do that?
The act of speaking, of dictating, it allows ideas to flow without the immediate internal critic, that perfectionist voice judging every single word in real time.
So it turns the scary task of high-stakes academic writing into a low-stakes, safe conversation.
A critical distinction. The key psychological counter-strategy here is just to lower the standard. If perfectionism is what stalls you, the best advice is to embrace what some people call the vomit draft.
Or the shitty first draft.
Yes, exactly that. The goal is just production, not elegance. The poet laureate Ted Kooser advised this: lower your standard. Stop trying to think your way out of the block, because that thinking is the block.
You have to write yourself out of it.
You have to write yourself out of it. Get the words down, knowing full well the first version is disposable.
Lowering the standard is great advice for anyone struggling with self-judgment. But let's shift gears to the modern professional world, where the problem of the messy first draft is, well, now it's being outsourced to AI.
A huge shift.
Yeah. Consider a copywriter for a digital marketing agency, staring at a brief for 5 engaging blog posts on a, frankly, painfully dull topic, complete block.
We have all been there.
So he tosses his scattered notes and keywords into a large language model. Instantly, it spits out 5 outlines and rephrases his jumbled thoughts into this optimized, polished prose. He finished a 2-day task in 2 hours.
And this story just perfectly illustrates how AI tools can annihilate the traditional cognitive causes of writer's block. Tools like ChatGPT for brainstorming or sophisticated paraphrasers, they act as powerful co-writers. They just get you started.
They break that initial barrier.
Yeah, and our research shows AI tools can reduce the time spent on early-stage drafting by a really significant margin, I think up to 40%.
That is a massive amount of cognitive relief. By handing off the bulk of the initial phrasing, the human writer can focus on strategy and review.
Precisely. They divide the task. If you're stuck on finding the right opening sentence, an AI tool gives you 5 options, and that breaks the cycle of deliberation and perfectionism before it can even start.
So it removes the need for that low-stakes vomit draft.
In a way, yes.
But the writer I spoke to told me the block was gone, only to be replaced by this nagging existential anxiety. He said, I didn't write it, I just curated it. It sounds like we were moving from being writers to being managers of algorithms. That's a huge psychological shift. I mean, is the anxiety of curating worse than the anxiety of creating?
It's certainly a different kind of anxiety. The traditional block was about failing to create something original. The new block is the fear of failing to direct the creation ethically and strategically.
So the problem shifts from composition to prompt engineering.
Exactly. The block hasn't disappeared, it's just evolved. It's now a challenge of precise instruction and context setting.
Okay, so if I'm a professional writer using AI, what's the difference between a blocked, ineffective prompt and one that actually works? Can you give us a concrete example?
Sure. An ineffective prompt is vague, and it results in generic, unusable content. For example, a blocked writer might just type, "Write me 5 blog posts about digital marketing trends."
Right, which is a recipe for disaster.
Total disaster. You're going to have to do so much editing. That's what a human assistant would get frustrated with, too.
For sure.
So the solution lies in specificity, in providing necessary constraints. A successful prompt overcomes the block by demanding high-level direction. Something like, generate 5 unique outlines for a target audience of C-suite executives in the health tech sector. Each outline must focus on the ethical implications of using deep data analytics with a tone that is authoritative and forward-looking.
Got it. So the human job is to supply the domain expertise, the context, and the constraints. That restores a sense of control.
It does, and it underscores the ethical imperative here.
Yeah.
AI is powerful augmentation, it's not a replacement. The real challenge is ensuring transparency about AI use and maintaining a critical human review.
Right.
Because the emotional depth, the unique perspective, that intuition, that's the essential human element. And it has to be preserved, or the writing truly will become meaningless. The writer has to own the direction.
Let's move to the highest level of external pressure then. Systemic organizational burnout. This is where the block isn't a single psychological hang-up, but a symptom of just complete depletion.
Yeah.
I was reading about a senior copywriter at a top-tier ad agency, call him Mark. After a year of nonstop pitches, deadlines, late nights, he just felt nothing. He'd go into brainstorming sessions and just feel static. an utter emptiness.
Wow.
He was beyond the fear of critique. His well had just run completely dry.
That emptiness is textbook professional burnout, and writer's block becomes the primary creative manifestation of that.
So it's a symptom, not the disease itself.
100%. Across professional writers, studies identify physiological factors like chronic stress and anxiety, and motivational factors like loss of enjoyment or fear of failure as the most common causes.
Yeah, they do.
Crucially, when these factors are present, they specifically impair articulation. So the writer knows the idea, but they physically struggle to express it.
But wait, if Mark is totally exhausted and depleted, is just blocking out 2 hours a day on his calendar really enough? That feels like just shuffling the deck. Surely, individual coping mechanisms like just try free writing are going to fail when the problem is the agency's whole culture.
That raises an incredibly important question. When the workload imbalance is the source of the trauma, the solutions have to be systemic, not personal.
Okay.
Organizational support is a powerful protective factor. It strengthens work engagement, and most importantly, it reduces that emotional exhaustion that defines burnout. And that's critical in high-demand creative sectors like advertising and media.
So what does that look like in practice? Beyond just lip service, how does an organization structurally protect a writer from burnout?
Mark's agency actually implemented 2 structural changes that provided real relief. First, they established non-negotiable maker hours.
Maker hours. I like that.
Yeah. It meant 2 hours every morning were blocked out, firm, company-wide. No meetings, no internal chats, no emails. This shifts the organization from a reactive cognitive environment where you're constantly responding to a proactive, deep work environment.
So it's not just 2 hours of free time, it's 2 hours of guaranteed psychological safety to actually create something.
Exactly. That restores the psychological safety you need for articulation. Second, they implemented robust, specialized mental wellness programs, including confidential employee assistance programs.
So taking the pressure off the individual.
Right. These resources helped employees detangle their personal identity, their self-worth, from their creative output. The goal is to recognize that creative depletion is a workplace hazard, not a personal failure. And you have to give employees the tools and the time to recover.
The best solutions reduce the work demands and increase the available resources.
And ensure work-life balance isn't just a poster on the wall.
So we've covered the spectrum, from the academic, paralyzed by perfectionism, to the professional paralyzed by the shift to curation, to the senior leader just paralyzed by exhaustion. The central finding here seems to be that writer's block is fundamentally about internal or external pressure leading to paralysis. The root causes are deeply psychological, systemic, or physiological.
And if we connect all these sources, we can actually derive 3 actionable, unifying strategies to overcome these diverse forms of paralysis. And they consistently work because they address the underlying psychological roadblocks.
Okay.
First, lower the standard. If cognitive blocks like perfectionism are your issue, you can't start because you fear the critique. The immediate enemy is your own internal editor. So you embrace the messy first draft. Stop filtering and just focus purely on production to break that inertia.
Get something on the page.
Anything. Second, set structure. To manage depletion and focus, you need to align your work with your natural energy. This means using 90-minute sprints, following the body's natural ultradian rhythm.
That's the body's energy cycle, right?
Exactly. Our body's energy naturally cycles between high focus and necessary rest every 90 minutes. So don't try to force 5 straight hours. Set clear, time-bound goals, not vague goals like write more, but specific tasks like complete the literature review section by 11 a.m.
And then reward yourself.
Yes. Reward yourself for completing those small tasks to boost your self-motivation. And third, employ the social solution. If fear or isolation or the pressure of judgment is the core problem, talking with others, a tutor, a peer, a colleague, is immensely powerful.
Like Elena did.
Just like Elena.
Wow.
Externalizing the idea reduces isolation, it immediately improves your mood, and it introduces new perspectives that can help break through that cognitive filter.
Ultimately, what we're learning is that success isn't about eliminating the pressure. It's about controlling your response to it. The goal is control over the process, whether that involves a pen, a keyboard, or an AI prompt.
It is. As one source brings us back to Tony Robbins' insight, the secret of success involves learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you.
If you learn the systems to manage the fear, the expectations, and the systemic pressures,
the writing will follow.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the true nature of writer's block and the strategies for moving past paralysis.